So point 5 he's making is in paragraph 619. Okay, we're good luck here. Okay, paragraph 619. Adam is the prototype of the ego. Okay, remember we talked about Christ being the ego later on, but we'll talk about that in the fall. Okay, so Adam is the prototype of the ego, and he had two sons, Cain and Abel, following the model of God, Christ, and Satan. Okay, so God had two sons, Christ and Satan, and Adam had two sons, Cain and Abel. And one was well loved by God, and one was the friggin' murderer that killed the well loved by God.
The black sheep of the family.
Black sheep, yeah. Another parallel is that Yahweh and Adam both had two wives. Yahweh's two wives were Israel and then Sophia. He remembered Sophia. And just as the ego has two wives, the self has two wives. This is what it means. Okay, so if Adam is the ego and Yahweh represents the self, Yahweh's two wives are Israel and Sophia. One is outer and one is inner, and Adam's two wives are Lilith and Eve, right? Okay, so the outer wife and the inner wife. And so in psychology now, when Edinger is talking about psychotherapy, he's talking about the two wives archetype. And this is, it's described in a man as a split animal. Okay, one should be inner, but it often becomes outer, an exteriorization of the two wives archetype. Now, why does that happen? Okay. Edinger's point is that one of the two needs to be inner and one needs to be outer. Okay. Why does it happen? So Edinger's point is, if you want to have a happy life, then one of the wives has to be an inner wife. But my way of thinking about it is, okay, when you're courting a woman, you're projecting upon her your anima, okay? And when you're courting a man, you're projecting upon him your animus, okay? And so the anima and the animus represent your perfection of the other, okay? And so then you marry that person and you find out, oh my God, this person isn't anything like that. This person is a crud. You know, how can I change this man, right? and the point is for women is that you're not going to change the guy, okay? But you have to understand the way it works, and the way it works is that you're providing for your spouse the part of themselves that they don't have. You're only half. Okay, there was a great movie years ago with John Goodman where the beautiful young wife was married to fat John Goodman, but they were one another split apart, right? And so they were their perfect mates. And you had to really suspend disbelief to believe that this beautiful young woman would be with John Goodman.
Sort of like Jabba the Hutt and Princess Leia.
Something like that. Yeah, something like that, right? Jabba the Hutt and Princess Leia. But both sides bring something to the relationship, right? That's what a good marriage is.
That was an issue that came up in one of my lives, and it had to do with that, you know, you're projecting this anima, and you're trying to, the mirror isn't working. You keep looking into the mirror and it's coming back all wrong.
Right.
And that's
So when the honeymoon is over, then you realize that, then you realize that this woman also snores, right? But in any case, you realize that the woman you actually married doesn't match your anima.
yeah,
Okay, and so what happens is that your anima starts looking around again, right? Or your animus starts looking around
Because you're
again.
adjusting the picture.
Yeah, well,
to the mirror.
yeah,
Trying to get one that isn't broken.
right. But the problem is then if you actually have a love affair in real life, then you have other problems. Okay, then there
Kind of like Tinder.
then there are problems in real life, right?
What's the carnival?
Hmm?
What's the carnival with the funny mirrors? You go in that room and it's like
Mirrors, house mirrors, all of them.
Right, and so I mean, your choice is to live with the tension of the love affair in real life, which has both its attractions and its negative side, or you live in your marriage and you keep the inner wife, the anima or the animus, the inner spouse, inner, and then you can have all the fantasies you want, okay, but you're just not going to bring them into the physical world.
I think the anima state you can negotiate. I think you can compensate. I can compensate through art, for example.
that's what I was asking you. Bring up the deficit basically
Pardon?
in yourself.
Yeah.
Well put, well put.
I mean, can you do that?
Yes. Yes.
Well, to a degree you
It's what you're
can.
projecting
You
out.
you can compensate in other ways, as Bill says. You can compensate through art or something like that.
But the person you're living with might not be a good roommate, and that could be it could be more that than the reflection or the projection stuff. Because
Well,
after a
but-
while,
but the-
after a
but
while
the
you
point-
sort of grow past the
But the point is, you have to find a way to make the person you're living with the good roommate. That's the key to a good marriage. No, they don't have to be a roommate, okay? Queen Victoria didn't sleep in the same room with Prince Albert, right? But they had a good relationship. They had 9 kids, so. Pardon?
Philip Roth and his wife lived in separate houses next door to each other.
Instead of Frida
Right.
Kahlo and Diego Rivera.
That seems like that.
But
Yeah.
I just read today, Skip, a quote from the Red Book where Jung said basically you have to experience the physical and to live those unlived parts of your life. You can't just live them internally. That was in the Red Book.
Well, certainly
But that was when he was going through that.
Jung lived that life, and especially at the time of the Red Book, he was going through that, definitely, very definitely, as we know
So he
from
would have
A Dangerous Method.
He would have withdrawn that a little bit as you got older.
Who knows? Because he was going to see Tony Wolfe for 40 years. Now, he believed that every analyst should have an analyst, and there's no doubt that Tony Wolfe was his analyst. Okay, there's no doubt about that.
Analysts with benefits.
Well, I mean, look, all women have something going about their father, okay? And Jung also did, okay? There's no doubt. And there's no doubt that Jung had a very serious feminine side, okay? Very serious. So, I mean, was he a T? Okay, yes, he was into discernment, so he was a thinking person. But all the manifestation of 20 collected works, that was all feminine. Okay, that's what the feminine is manifestation into the world. Okay, and so that was all feminine.